an emergency situation where people want answers and science doesn't work that quickly.
Right. I can say just on a personal level, as a patient rather than as a physician, I've had COVID twice, despite the vaccine regimens. Once before the vaccines were available, early March 2020, and it was incredibly mild, just a couple of days, sore throat and nothing. But I had a huge spike in antibodies that I tested in the lab. And now I just recently, post boosting, have had the BA.5, and I was sick for days with 103 fever and wheezed for 3 weeks. So the mild Omicron BA.5 infection was, in me, N equals 1 experiment, very severe. Why is that? I don't know. But it is. So yeah, it's very difficult to make. That's not difficult. It's easy to make assumptions. It's bad from a scientific standpoint to make these assumptions, without data. So we should always be very judicious about, how we approach these things. We're all going to kind of live this in real time, right? I mean, what happens to COVID? I don't know. What happens after BA.5? I don't know. Does it become an endemic coronavirus? Does it become more like a cold virus? Does it stay like kind of a mid-level pathogenic virus like seasonal flu? I don't know. Does it go extinct? I don't know, right? Those are the answers. That's the answer to give. I don't know.
The press finds people who give answers. That's the problem, right?
Yes.
If they came to you and you said, no, I don't know, they wouldn't publish your interview.
Well, that's what happens all the time, right? I mean, if you try to not speak in geek language, but you try to say, look, we really don't understand these things. It's really complicated for this and this and this and this reason. It's like, there's no headline. It's boring.
No, they will find someone who says, this season's going to be horrible. We're going to have new variants that are going to evade vaccines, where there's no evidence for any of that, but that's what will get headlines, and then people get scared. And so I think the role of scientists is to try and mitigate that and say, look, we have no idea. We're playing it day to day, essentially.
Yeah,
right?
A completely novel virus. Like you said, we had no information about it, and now 2 years later, we've learned a lot, but we still have so much more to learn. It's difficult. I think communicating science is becoming more difficult now. I don't know. I'm getting into fields that are outside of my bailiwick, but with a kind of a 24-hour instant news cycle, with social media and stuff where everything's instantaneous, everybody's an expert.
That's the problem.
Or the experts are discounted because they're biased.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's this kind of crazy world. And so I don't know how you communicate science effectively. I mean, obviously your podcast and others like it are really valuable, and there are really good science reporters around. And I know that our institute tries very hard, to communicate science effectively, but it's difficult. And I think the environment's just getting harder.
You've hit all the right points. Expertise is undervalued. In fact, have you read The Death of Expertise, the book?
I have not.
Tom Nichols, highly recommended. He tries to understand the sources of this death of expertise. Very good. And only one is, the internet is part of it, but it's not all. And that people think they can become an expert by doing a few Google searches. And so who cares that you worked on viruses for 40 years?
Right.
But it is a real problem. I mean, what we do is simply give you the science, and we attract a certain number of people, but by no means millions of people, right? Because they don't like, we're too long and we're too complicated. But we attract the people who value the good science. And I don't know what the answer is going forward. I'm just going to keep doing it and try different things. And, I get scientists to talk about their work. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. So
my wife gave me a coffee mug recently that says, my medical degree is worth more than your Google search.
That's good. I like that. It is.
Yeah, it is. It's more expensive too.
But, there are people who will
argue with that. Yeah.
I did a podcast with Lex Friedman a couple of years ago, who was a very well-known podcaster out of Austin, Texas. And he does all kinds of areas, and he has a lot of followers. And he said to me beforehand, don't tell us you're an expert, please, because we don't really care. And I'm like, don't you care because I want experts on my program, right? I don't understand this at all, but I might be too old. I don't know.
No, I don't know.